everybody. I'm Elaine Clayman, and I welcome you to our Tuesday talks, which we are going to do every other week going forward. The Elaine Clayman Justine Bray team would like to keep you fully up to date on what's going on in the market, good or bad. And today's talk I am entitling A Dirty Little Secret. And it sounds like a bad novel. And if you're in the trenches as we are, it feels like a bad novel. Forbes in December 3rd, 2019, so a couple of years ago, published an article that was called The Power of Co-op Boards. So this goes back, this is nothing new, but in today's market, it is extremely painful for sellers and buyers. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what we're talking about. The newsletter focuses on sales being turned down solely by price. Now, we know that co-ops do not have to tell you why a buyer is being turned down. The state has never been able to overthrow this, from what I can tell. But we as brokers, I'm in the business over 30 years, you know when you have an eminently well-qualified buyer for most buildings, and we know fully that this buyer is turned down on price. And they're paying what today might be, or offering what today may be a fair market price, because if we could have gotten higher, we certainly would. And this becomes part of the problem. We know that the pandemic and unrest in big cities has caused prices to drop, and they have, in many cases, significantly dropped. The problem is when the game is played that I'm about to tell you about, the prices appear to be higher than they really are. There is a market value. It's very simple. The buyers determine that market. Today, the sellers are not in control. The brokers have zero control. But depending on supply and demand, there becomes a market price. That price is what the top dollar is that the buyer will pay. I think of an old commercial on TV that said, "I won't pay more for this muffler." And this is what we're feeling today in the market. The buyer is saying, "This is my offer and I won't pay more for this muffler." When we as brokers know that we have this eminently well-qualified buyer, we understand that the board is kicking this back, meaning a board rejection, simply based on price. Yes, it could be something else, but not over and over again. Many buyers and sellers, as a result of this, are forced to do, as the article suggests, shenanigans. They raise the contract price, the seller does a concession, the board is happy. I, as a broker, cannot partake in this practice. This is solely between a buyer, a seller, and their attorneys. But this is, in fact, what's being done when it's an all-cash purchase. It cannot be done when there's a mortgage. And very much with full knowledge of the board. So everybody's in this bed together. Not every buyer and seller wants to play that game. They're not comfortable with smoke and mirrors. However, in reality, then the co-ops are holding the sellers hostage. Sellers want to move on with their lives. Sellers are often paying for multiple spaces. It may be an estate sale and they have to pay that monthly maintenance. Maybe there's a mortgage as well. So it becomes a very serious problem. As I said, the sellers are being held hostage. So what's going to happen, my prediction, is that as condos are becoming more plentiful, right now about 70% of the city is co-ops. That's going to go to 60% and 50%. There's going to be eventually more condos than co-ops. Buyers are going to be driven to go to the condos because of this practice. But boards, I'm not sure, are thinking of the long-term effects on it. I think part of the problem is they're seeing the value of their own apartments go down. They may stand behind the idea that they're protecting the sellers in the building. I will leave it up to you to make that decision. So there is definitely some doubt there. The balance is changing and it is an extraordinarily difficult situation. So I do encourage you to read the article and you can decide for yourself who's right, who's wrong. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in 2 weeks. For more information, call Justine Bray, my daughter and partner, or I, and we are happy to help you decide on how to price your apartments and walk you through the process. We are one of the top 10 teams at Brown Harris Stevens every single year. We are very proud of our success and of our brokers, and I promise you, nobody will give you more marketing than we will. Thank you so much for tuning in.